Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live, where we take a look at stakes racing all across the country. And, we're kind of in the doldrums a little bit here, right? We're in the, summer's over. So we're at the point of the year where we get, a couple interesting stakes every weekend, maybe one or two. But, then we kind of have other stuff, just your standard racing, right, up until we get to Breeders' Cup, right? We're a little less than 2 months away from Breeders' Cup. We'll have some exciting stuff coming up here, but we're kind of talking in chat, trying to figure out, hey, what are we going to cover? And Caleb suggested that we cover Churchill Downs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, for Caleb to suggest that we cover Churchill Downs just really just shows like how like we were kind of stretching it. And so I was like, you know what? He's like, well, Aqueduct looks all right too. And I'm like, look, you are going to bet Aqueduct. You're not going to bet Churchill Downs. So Caleb, we're going to talk a little Aqueduct. We're going to talk a little Aqueduct late pick 5 here. Literally the most shocking thing that happened to me all week was you suggesting we cover Churchill Downs.
Yeah, it's just kind of that time of the year, right? Where there's, we're not quite into Keeneland. Saratoga's over. You kind of have the hangover from Saratoga Del Mar's marathon summer. So, yeah, it's honestly, a time that a lot of people I know do sort of take a break or dial it way back. I've been busy, which has more to do with it than anything else. But I haven't been super involved the last 2 weeks or so. But if I'm volunteering Churchill, we're in desperate times.
Yeah, and I just knew Mark was going to have some kind of like response to trying to handicap Churchill. I agreed with you, okay. I think the card's interesting. I think there's some good racing on the Churchill card. I play a ton of Kentucky stuff, so like for me, like I would have been fine with it. But Mark, Mr. New York through and through, I knew you would much prefer Aqueduct. And I think Caleb was just trying to humor me. So we got Aqueduct on the card, but I see Penn State Scott in here. He's representing the great state of Pennsylvania and the stakes racing at the old Keystone Racetrack. And since Penn State Scott is here, he's going to ask at some point. So Caleb, I already saw you take a sip of something. What do you got over there?
Yeah, I've got. I posted it in one of our chats the other day. It's that Alberta Premium Rye, that cask strength rye. It's it's hot. It's interesting, but I drink almost everything neat. I'm not an ice guy. But this is one of the few bourbons or ryes I've had where like it really does need a drop or two of water to open up because it is just so hot out of the bottle. I think it's 66%, 132 proof. So yeah, it's you don't get it too close to an open flame.
I don't think you can legally ship it in like certain ways, like because I think it's or you can't fly with it because I think you can ship it. You can't fly with it. I don't think. I think it's good. I think the proof is too high. Mark, what do you got in front of you?
I'm really boring. I just have water. Nothing exciting for tonight. So,
what is this picture?
Uh-oh. What is he?
What is that?
Scott? Oh, it's a bourbon glass.
Oh, is it? I couldn't tell. Friend Carl in one of the Discords, he sent, so we do a Secret Santa, and so I got these very, very large coupe glasses, but they're tiki themed, right? And so like they got like the little like heads on there. But what's really nice about these is these are double coupe glasses. So like when I make a normal cocktail in this, like it kind of looks a little sad because like it doesn't go all the way to the top. So I made a double Manhattan. So there are 4 ounces. There are 4 ounces of rye in here, 2 ounces of what Carpano Antica, I think is what I got. And then it's just some got some cherries in there and stuff. So I just gave myself a nice big double Manhattan because I didn't want to have to like pour myself anything more. I didn't want to bring the bottle in, so I brought a double in. So
Cookie Americano in it?
no, what the heck is it? I thought it was yeah, Carpano Antica. Yeah.
Carpano Antico. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one I normally
There's a couple of them. Yeah, there's a couple different versions.
You know what's funny is I got it. So I bought like a little 375 bottle of it because I like a Manhattan. So I bought it for that, and there was like I was about halfway through it, and so I was at the liquor store, and they had a deal, and like it was just like the weirdest deal. If you bought a bottle of tequila, a certain brand, I want to say it was Mijenta, but it could have been a different bottle. But if you bought a bottle of it, you got half off a 750 bottle of that vermouth of Carpano Antica, and I was like, there are literally I'm pretty sure there are no cocktails I can think off the top of my head that include tequila and vermouth. So I was just kind of like, what in the world like is this deal? Like, so it must have just been like the same, like they're the same company or same distributor or whatever. But I'm like, this is like the weirdest deal in the world. But yeah, I've been working through that 750 bottle. It's been a slow time through it.
So I just looked this up, and apparently tequila Negronis are a thing. A thing I don't know if I ever want to try. It just seems like it would not work.
We need PDT in here because PDT is a big tequila guy.
He's
You're also a big tequila guy. Our good friend Matthew DeSantis.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Huge tequila guy.
He's a big tequila guy. Yeah. And also because we're going to start off with the lovely land of Parks. Also a Pennsylvania homesteader.
He's also a fan of red wine, apparently too.
Yeah.
He's a man. He's a man of many.
Man got hobbies.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Before we jump into this, any fun? I mean, last year we skipped last week. Any fun gambling stories from over the weekend? Anyone hit anything? Anyone play anything?
No, I've again, you mentioned this sort of taking or being light in this sort of gap period, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm keeping my volume down low, and I'll definitely play a little Keelan Fall, see if I can get into the BC cheap, but otherwise BC would be kind of my my next real target. So again, that Saratoga, Del Mar into Kentucky Downs grind is long and it's tough, and that's just a lot of handicapping, and I just need some time off.
Yeah, I feel that. I played some of Woodbine actually last week. Again, to Josh's earlier point about we're in the doldrums a little bit. Woodbine Mile was last week. They had a pretty nice contest or what I thought was a nice contest on ExpressBet that ended up not being exactly what I thought, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so I did play a bit of Woodbine, didn't do any good. Had a couple of disappointing rides from Buick on some Appleby horses that probably were the best, but otherwise, that was pretty much all I played the whole weekend. So
I thought Buick was hurt.
I mean, he was listed as of last Saturday.
Huh. I thought he got hurt. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I've just been kind of treading water. I unfortunately, I use a couple of different ADWs. I think we all do, right? Obviously, we have the great people over at AM Wager. Sign up with AM Wager in our affiliate link down there. But there are a couple tracks that they don't carry, like Churchill Downs and stuff. So obviously, there's other ADWs that I use, and so like when I use, I've started using a little bit of FanDuel Racing. And they have the very dangerous thing where you can also bet sports with the same wallet. So I've literally won money on sports and then like lost it on the horses and then won money on sports and lost it and like uh I'm right now I'm sweating a nice little bet here on this Thursday night game. I need a Keon Coleman touchdown and I think I'll be sitting on a nice one. So um but yeah, like I've basically been focusing more on sports the next couple weeks until Keeneland shows up, and then I'll get excited for that first week, and then after the first day, decide I'm never going to play this track again. Um, I will say though, the one bet I've definitely been playing, and this is something that we've talked about a bunch, is the late pick three at Churchill Downs because they've adopted the $3 pick three for the late pick three at Churchill Downs. So I've been firing at that. I wish they'd have the run back double, but we beggars can't be choosers. So, but we've been yeah, I've been firing at that. It's I always feel like those high base bets are good bets. So,
Don't forget about the fact you've been firing away to Cinnabon at the pick four.
Oh
Also,
yeah,
a low takeout with a high base.
yep. I still think pick four should be $1 base.
Oh, agreed.
And I think that would and pick three should be $2, and I think that would fix a lot of stuff. But
Agreed. Yep.
but we could sit here and talk about bets that we should play, and we could also talk about bets that we shouldn't definitely not play. And that's most of the things at Parks, because they got jackpot pick fives and they got high takeout. I want to say the safe bets are the win side. I think you're all right on, but so yeah, so we're not going to talk about the sequence, but obviously we got two grade ones at Parks. So I figured we definitely need to cover it and talk about them a little bit. Nick Seaver's already coming in. Should not play Parks ever. A force out day. I'm not gonna throw stones at anybody who plays that force out day. But race 13 on a 15 race card, Jessica Peckett is gonna be tired. The Cotillion, 3-year-old fillies going a mile and 16th on the main track here. No turf racing at Parks. Apparently they killed their turf course. I don't know what's going on there, but
you should know all about killing. Being a Churchill fan, you should know all about killing turf horses.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine now. Kind of. They're running like one race a day on the turf, but
for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your morning line favorite is going to be your morning line favorite is going to be the one Scottish Lassie here at 9-5. And then you get 5-2 on Good Cheer, 7-2 on Lacara. And then you get your price, I think, on everybody else here. Mark, I'll let you start. Where did you kind of land here?
I think this is an interesting race, and I think that the next race is interesting for the same reasons, and that's the fact that the leader of the division didn't show up here. Nitrogen decides to skip this race. I would imagine they're going to point right for Breeders' Cup, or I don't know, maybe they're going to have a prep race in between here. But and so you're going to see who's the best of the rest within this division, and it's a pretty. It's an okay 3-year-old filly crop. I think at this point I was trying to fade Nitrogen a few too many times and it got it burned a little bit, but it's a matter of who's the best of the rest. And I guess for me, it's sort of what do you do with Scottish Lassie in here? And if you believe that last out figure, I was there that day. She was amazingly impressive. And if you believe that last out figure and you don't think that she bounces, she's 9-5 is probably the right price on her. I think there's a situation here where she has more pace pressure early on. I don't see her getting as loose as she did in that race and just driving it all from the front end. But my problem was I didn't really know who else to go with beyond Scottish Lassie. You have Lacara in here, you have Good Cheer in here. I've always had a soft spot for somebody like Dry Powder. And I was trying to look up for that, up and coming new face. I love these when you see these 3-year-olds and you kind of figure out where the plateaus are and you look for the lightly raced horses. So I looked around, spent way more time than I care to admit on this race and just kind of landed on Scottish Lassie. I think that last figure is legitimate. I think she's a kind of horse that seems to be improving. And as they've sort of stretched her out, she just kind of gets better and better. I know Josh talks quite a lot about Joe Rosario and speed type horses and how he's just phenomenally good with them. She definitely took a massive step forward getting Joelle up on her. So I don't know if it's partly the jock. I don't know if it's partially her maturing as a horse. Maybe it's a little bit of a dressed up fig, but I'm going to land on Scottish Lassie, and because I think the rest is just I have no clue. So hopefully Caleb's smarter than I am here, which is
you want to go first, Caleb? You want to go in on them, or you want me to go?
Why don't you start?
Okay. All right. So I thought this was a tough race because of a couple things. And this is something that we talked a little about before stream, and I think something that Caleb and I have kind of agree on, or we've talked about. So let's start with Scottish Lassie. That figure is coming out of a 4-horse race, and I got a hard time believing it. You kind of look back at what the horse had been running. I think to see a 11-point jump is probably a little ridiculous, I think, in that spot. If you would have told me, like, I don't know, like a 114, 113, somewhere in that range, that's probably closer, I think, in my mind to kind of what happened in that race. But it's just tough. Like those races where you get 4 horses, you get weird pace scenarios, you get all kinds of weird stuff. So I just don't want to touch that horse at a short price with that. With that figure in the questions there. The 2 Lucara, I've officially written the breakup letter because I've bet this horse just so many times, and I was all over this horse in the Oaks. I think I was all over this horse in the Alabama, and I just can't. Like, I look at this race, and I mean, this is going to be your controlling speed in this spot, but I don't know, man. I just can't go back to that well. So I want to congratulate the number 7 Good Cheer on winning this race, because I have not been on the right side of this horse all year, and I'm also not going to be betting Good Cheer in this race. I had faded Good Cheer all year, and then finally in the Acorn, I'm like, all right, this is Good Cheer spot, right? And then Lucara booms me. And then last time, I'm like, all right, Lucara and Good Cheer, those are all I need. And then I get boomed by a turf horse. Like, it's just, I can't get on the right side of this horse. I'm gonna just, I don't know. I'm against one last time. And so I actually landed on the number 4 Indy Bay in this spot. So
shocker.
I end up on the
Absolute
number 4
shocker.
Indy Bay in this spot, right? And now this is a horse that's been sprinting. Now you look at the Charlestown Oaks. This horse, set off a pace there, beat a nice horse in Vodka with a twist. But the one thing you got to remember about Charlestown is 7 furlongs is actually a 2-turn race. So this is a horse that has won a 2-turn race, and has run her best figure ever going 2 turns. So, I'm gonna think, hey, maybe this horse wants to route. This horse wants to go 2 turns. Safi Joseph always shows up to these tracks on their big days, and generally runs well. So I'm gonna take a shot here with the number 4 Indy Bay as kind of a new shooter going against some of these horses. And yeah, I'm gonna fade the usual suspects that have kind of just taken their turns beating up on each other, and I'm gonna go with the 4 Indy Bay here as my top pick. Caleb, where did you land?
Yeah, so I guess to start with the favorite Scottish Lassie, who I'm not sure will be your favorite, truthfully. I agree with you, Josh. I don't want anything to do with Scottish Lassie in this race. I don't think I believe the figure. I mean, it was the only 2-turn race the entire day, and it was a 4-horse field where you had a horse win by 15. The second place horse was clear by 6. Like, just very exaggerated margins of victory. I think you need to be highly suspect of that fig. And even if it's legitimate, I mean, she kind of did this as a 2-year-old where she popped a big number and then in a blowout victory. And it really took her a long time to sort of circle back into form. So even if you do think that figure is legitimate, a 3-year-old filly that pops a massive new top, coming back, at a place like Parks where a lot of horses don't really take to the surface, I don't want Scottish Lassie at all. That being said, I am begrudgingly ending up on Good Cheer, who I think might end up being your favorite in this race. It's kind of funny you mentioned it, Josh, because I've also never been on the right side of Good Cheer until the Alabama. I finally faded her with nitrogen that day, and I was correct. So I'm now 1 for 9 in being on the right side of Good Cheer. So one of us will get a tally. Either you fading her or me using her. One of us will get a point on the board in the eternal struggle against Good Cheer. But I just think the pace sets up for her in this race. I mean, I think there's a lot of cheap speed in here. I do think Lacara is your controlling speed, but I do tend to think a horse like Scottish Lassie, who maybe isn't a need the lead type, has certainly run her best race ever on the lead and draws the rail here, have to think they're going to be sending to try to establish position early. I mean, a horse like Clickot, Indy Bay, Not Too Late. I mean, these are all horses who, are either stretching out from sprints or have a lot of tactical speed already. So I do think the pace will be pretty honest in here, which I think works to the advantage of a horse like Good Cheer. And yeah, I mean, nothing flashy. I just think she's the most consistent runner in the field and does get the right pace set up for her today. I do like Lacara a bit. I'm actually shocked Mark's not on Lacara, but I guess I'm not shocked because he ended up on the favorite, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I mean, if there's no bigger every other pattern guy I know besides Mark, and I mean, this should be the every if you believe the pattern coming into this race for Lacara, who has essentially won every other race going back to September of last year. In addition to that, she was supposed to run in the CCA Oaks. There was a quarantine issue in the Cassie barn. She ended up having to be a scratch the morning of. And to me, it felt like they sort of had to pivot or audible to try to get her into the Alabama. I don't think that was ever really the target. I don't really know that she's a 1.25 mile horse. She probably wasn't really, her training progression had her set to peak on a different day. So I think that as bad as she was in the Alabama, you can maybe be a little bit forgiving, just given what we've seen from her in the past. It's also not out of character for her to run a stinker and come back and win afterwards. We've already seen that 3 times essentially. So for me, I think Lacara is one who I'll also be using. So I'm kind of taking the horse on the front and the horse in the back and hoping I can bracket the field there and get by with just Good Cheer and Lacara. That's pretty much it for me. I looked hard at Dry Powder, but I don't think I'll ever forgive this horse for the ride that they gave her in the CCA Oaks, where all the speed scratched out. And I had so much money going through her as the lone speed in a 4-horse race. And they rate her and run for black type. Like, I've never been so frustrated in my life. So this horse might win. I mean, but she's on my never again list from that ride forevermore. So Dry Powder, Gold Square Racing, Chad Summers, you're all dead to me.
Yeah, and I don't know, the most popular man in chat, Fortnite is fun. He says, don't sleep on Clicquot and Dry Powder too. He thinks the chalks aren't trustworthy, which is kind of how I was feeling in this one a little bit. So, and yes, I know, Mark, you want me to highlight this. Now look at the Charlestown Oaks. Yes, let's mock Mark's pick. Okay, I'm just saying, man, it's a 2-turn race. 2-turn race.
He's being sus of your speed figure while then praising a Charlestown speed figure.
Yeah. Anything else on this race?
Not for me.
No.
Pennsylvania Derby, grade 1 race for 3-year-olds. And we're going to be going 1 mile and an eighth here on the main track. Your morning line favorite, oh, where is this? Oh my God, I can't find it. I know. Where is it at? Oh, here it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, your morning favorite's number 8 by Ism, 2-1. And then you get goal oriented at 5-2, 4-1 on Gosker. You get 6-1 on Magnitude, and then you kind of get your price on everybody else in this race. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, well, I think you have to start with Baeza, I think, when you talk about the Pennsylvania Derby. I won't go as far to say this horse is a takeout reducer. I think he is the most likely winner of the race. I just think he offers zero value, and I don't think he's as likely to win this race as his eventual odds would suggest. I think he probably goes off less than 2 to 1. And even if he does go off 2 to 1, I'm just not convinced that he wins this race a third of the time. So, for me, my kind of issue with Baeza as well, yes, he's very talented and he's run into some of the best 3-year-olds in the country a few times with sovereignty and journalism. It's that he's not getting any better. If you look at his last 4 races, he basically ran the same race 4 times in a row. I mean, arguably, he's even stepped backwards a touch from that Santa Anita Derby. But regardless, it's hard to make an argument that this horse is actually improving. And maybe that effort's good enough to win, but I just was more tempted to take a look at some other horses who I think are on the improve and are going to offer much better value. One of the, I mean, and that being said, despite kind of fading Baeza, I don't think you get some crazy long shot in this race. I did land on essentially the second and third pick in here. The number 6, Goal Oriented. I did not expect to like this horse when I heard he was running in this race. I've never thought super highly of him, but I kind of went back and watched his Haskell, and that is a race that really fell apart. He was up involved in a pace that did melt. Yeah, fair enough. That pace did kind of fall apart. I mean, the horse that set the pace, Kentucky Outlaw, finished next to last. And the horse that was up there with him is Bracket Buster, who he actually finished 4th, but he was 7 lengths behind Goal Oriented. And we saw Bracket Buster running the Travers and actually, not get near sovereignty, but run a good race. So for me, I just thought that's a better race than it looked. The figure came back very strong in the Haskell, just lost by less than a length to journalism. And you have to think if journalism's in this race, he's probably favored to win by at least a length. I mean, he's consistently had Baeza's number by a length or more when they've faced off. So for me, I do like Goal Oriented, who I think is, a little more tactical horse than a few others in here. Another horse that I will be using is Gosger, the number 9. This horse probably offers better value simply from having taken a bit of a less glamorous approach to getting here by kind of skipping the Derby and then running in the Preakness. Maybe a little overshadowed because he's been beaten by journalism twice, but he's been beaten twice by a combined length. Admittedly, journalism had trouble in the Preakness and probably should have won by more. But, in the Haskell, this horse just ran a good race. He just happened to find, one horse that was a little bit better. But there's no journalism in here. And I've been a big Baeza stan for a while. And I'm just not really convinced that he's the 1B to journalism's 1A, or maybe 2B to 2A if you consider sovereignty the lone one in that kind of a division. So to me, I just think Gosger's not that much slower than Baeza on time form. He's actually faster than Baeza, and he's going to be twice the price. So for me, those are the 2 horses I want in here. I respect Baeza, but I'll let him beat me as a horse that just doesn't seem to be progressing anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't have agreed with Caleb much more in here. I think I had the exact same take on Baeza. I mean, the horse can win, but Baeza hasn't been a win machine and gets bat on the name recognition, specifically of the dam every time that he runs. He's a horse that I would be shocked if he doesn't hit the trifecta, but I don't think he's a crazy likely winner. And I think to Caleb's point, I think he is much shorter than his chances of winning the race are. Landed on the same, I think I think Caleb's second choice is who was my top choice, and that's Gosger. I think he just, he's found his kryptonite in journalism, and journalism didn't show up here. So, I think Gosger is the right kind of horse. He seems to be getting better every single start. And I think he has every right to take a little tiny step forward here. And if he does that, he's going to be an absolute bear. Doesn't need the lead, can kind of sit that stalking pocket trip. Is tactical enough that he's not going to, kind of create himself any problems. So I thought Gosger was really interesting. And the other horse that I am interested in here is a horse that I think, was it Nick Sievers or somebody mentioned here, and that's the 4 horse David of Athens. I would absolutely loved for this horse, Penn State Scott, sorry. I would love this horse to have literally any other jockey aboard him. But again, this is a horse that's a lightly raced horse. That last effort was really impressive. Seems to be kind of, taking steps in the right direction. And another one of these, it's just one of these horses. I always like these late developing, lightly raced 3-year-olds. You tend to get a price on them, and they tend to take these big step forwards later in the season. Another horse that probably sits that similar type of a trip to Gosger, kind of just off the pace. And, obviously he's getting the class test here. Don't take 7 or 8 to 1 on this horse. You want every bit of that 12 to 1 price, but I think he's an interesting outsider that has some upside in here.
I got none of those horses. You guys didn't talk about any of the horses that I want. My top pick in this race is number 7, Big Truz. Mark, I think you brought up a really good point. This is a horse that won by 7 lengths last time out at Ellis Park with Tyler Gaffleone aboard, and gets Mark's favorite jockey of all time in Junior JJ over here, JJ Castellano aboard. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought that was a really, really impressive win last time out. This is a horse that I think likes to track off the speed, and I think that in here, you got a couple of speed balls, especially drawn on the inside. You got the 2 Altabelli, you got the 3 Magnitude, you got the 4 David of Athens. They're all going to want to go, and then that you're going to get some speed probably from the 10, and then even the 6 is going to be kind of up there, pretty up front. So I'm looking for somebody to come from off the pace. Maybe this is just going to be like a perfect setup for Baeza, but then unfortunately, like although Baeza is the best horse eligible for an N2X in training right now, I don't know if this is going to be. I just don't know. Like, he just keeps on finding ways not to win. Right? He's broken his maiden. That's it. And like, granted, he's run all those those big nice speed figures, but Big Truz got a 123 for that effort last time out. Granted, it was going a mile. He's going to be going a little bit further this time out. He disappointed in the Indiana Derby. That Tip Top Thomas, but Tip Top Thomas just won. I'm pretty sure going wire to wire in that race. That was a real speed favoring track. So yeah, I don't know. I like Big Truz here. Stretching out a little bit. Coming off that big win. And then, as my lone B, I'm gonna take a shot with Magnitude. Why the heck not? Right, right. This is a horse that showed a ton in that Risen Star. Just immediately turned everybody's head. Won at 43 to 1, and then they're like, "Hey, yeah, we got to put this horse. We got to take this horse off the trail." And came back at Prairie Meadows and won very, very impressively there. And then they put him in the Travers and. Yeah, finished 3rd in that race by a mile. But I don't know. Their Sovereignty obviously just completely embarrassed that field. But, he still did finish, 2 lengths behind, or the 10 lengths behind.
10 lengths behind
Bracket Buster. So I don't know. Like, I think this horse has got ability, but I much prefer Big Truz in here. Honestly, the only way that I would maybe improve this horse if you get like the 2 and the 4 to scratch out of this, but I don't see that happening. So I have him as a B. Like, it's a horse I'm rooting for, but like I said, I think the value in this race is going to be on the 7 Big Truz, who looks to me like an improving type. And it's kind of a lightly raced horse, so I think that you might still get some improvement out of him.
Yeah, I think Magnitude is such a tough call in this race.
Yeah.
I tried to beat Sovereignty with him last time, and it wasn't like Magnitude just lost. He could barely run 6 furlongs. It was an abysmal effort from a horse that came in as a clear-cut second choice. I don't know what to think of him. He's such a difficult horse to read. I mean, 2 of his races would win this race or come very close to winning this race, but 7 of them wouldn't hit the board. So, like, what do you do with a horse like that? I mean, 6-1 might be about the right price if you think you'll get that, to hope he discovers that one of those 2 good races this Saturday. But I really struggle with magnitude. I didn't know what to do with him in this spot.
You think he needs Butte? You think that's what it is, right? That's what the B is for, right?
I mean, yeah, but I don't think. I mean, he romped in the Risen Star. I mean, did he bounce in the Travers? I mean, it was off of 7 weeks rest. You wouldn't think so, but I mean, I suppose it's possible. I mean, does he? But he's a hard horse to figure because it doesn't like that bad race came out of nowhere. If anything, it's like the good races came out of nowhere, and the bad race fits more in line with what he was running for most of his early part of his career. So I don't know. I don't know what to do with him. He's a tough call for me. But at 3-1, he's the easiest toss in my life. At 8 or 10-1, he gets interesting. I think. I don't think he'll get 10-1, but at 8-1 maybe.
Hear me out, Caleb. Let's look at the 2 works before the Travers. Got a 101 and a 50. I don't know.
That's not.
Look at the 2 works before this race, though. You got the bullet. Minute 3 with the 49. I don't know. Maybe we got the ass man
starting to stack up a little bit. That's true.
All right, Mark.
Anybody give Mo Plexon here a look? To me, he was.
I knew this was coming. My goodness gracious.
No shot. I thought he was a little bit like a magnitude, where you can make a case that he bounced off the Ohio Derby and needed the last race and comes back here. I mean, if he fires back to that Ohio Derby, he's interesting, or takes a step forward off it. I thought he was an interesting player here. I realize he's a bit of an outsider looking in this field, but I think he's an interesting horse just in the fact of, can he take another step forward? He has been that kind of horse who has slowly gotten a little bit better as the year's gone on, or honestly all last year too. There's a right price for him. It's probably 12 or 15-1.
Yeah,
and
you
I
get your price, I think. For sure. I mean, and I liked his Ohio Derby. I did. I mean, I didn't hate him in the Jim Dandy, truthfully.
No, I liked him there.
He just, he needs a career top. And not by a small margin, I don't think. And I just don't know if I see it in this race. Kind of along the lines of horses that need a career top. Either of you look at the number 1, So Sandy? I remember, I think it was you, Mark, who needed this horse for a couple buckets in the Curlin, who got grabbed by Chance McPatrick of all people. Now, Chance McPatrick and Strategic Focus both came out of that race to run horrible. That form hasn't exactly.
Chancer got a stud deal out of it, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, my point stands. So that isn't exactly a strong race on the run backs, but this is a horse that, if you look at his time form figures, and it doesn't quite stack up on Brisnet, but on time form has literally improved in every start. All 7 starts, this horse has moved forward, including the random turf effort, which maybe you throw that one out. But if you assume this is a horse who's just taking small steps forward, his last race was a 116. He improved 6 points in his last 4 starts. If he improves 6 points again on time form, it puts him around a 122, which I think is in the ballpark of what wins this race. I mean, it'll come back faster than that because it's Parks, but the real number is probably about a 122, even though they'll get like a 125 or something. So I kind of think this horse might be in with a shot. I don't know if he really wants this distance, perhaps, although he does have 1 win at the distance. But Mark, you said you looked at him as well?
Yeah, I looked at him as well. I mean, obviously, I needed him for, I don't know, almost 40K in the on that pick 5 there that ended the next race. So roughing the numbers, obviously you don't have Will Pays until the next race, but Chancer boomed me very hard there. But no, I think for all the reasons you mentioned, Caleb, he's a horse that seems to have taken a step forward in literally every single race he's ever run. An interesting spot here, but I also thought it was a little odd that Jose doesn't fly in to ride him. So, and she normally tends to get, Jose will tend to travel for Sherry. So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is there.
Is Jose in Churchill? Because he's not in New York either.
He's at Churchill. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So but I think you made all the right points. I think this is one of those horses that's trending in the right direction. Again, would need to make a career top. So yeah, interesting player. I mean, very interesting race. I think it's if you can get past. I think the race really goes through a Baez or a Gausgar, those type of, or even a goal orientated, those kind of horses. But if you can get past those horses, I think it's an interesting race, interesting rendition.
Mark, heads up. Would you take Moplex over Big Truz?
No, I'd take Big Truz over Moplex.
Oh, that's no fun. Penn State Scott asking if Tyler chose.
I would.
You would have to think so. I mean, Tyler rides pretty often for Brendan Walsh. He does offer Brian Lynch as well, but I would think he had choice here.
There's really not a lot of Javi up for Brian Lynch history, so I would assume that he had choice.
Nick Seaver saying the quitting and coming back this quick makes you think he had an issue in the Travers. I think he's talking about magnitude.
Possible.
Yeah, I've never heard what happened, but I very much agree with you. That's one of those things. I know. I guess I'm a little more lenient here than a lot of other people. I just kind of draw a line through the Travers with him. Clearly something went wrong. He was on the lead run on the backstretch, and you go in the lead by a half, and then the next call you're third by 12. I mean, he completely threw out a boat anchor. I don't know what happened. I haven't heard any details on it, but I would imagine something went wrong.
And Soon Fox saying that he thinks it was a distance in the Travers. I mean, you're going a furlong shorter here, so
yeah, that's a ridiculous take, my friend.
That's a ridiculous. That's a terrible.
He quit
take.
at the 6 furlong pole. I guess like he
right.
Like in the stretch, like
he quit at the 6 furlong pole after winning a mile and a 16th race the previous race. That makes no. I mean, maybe he threw a shoe, maybe he grabbed a quarter coming out of the gate and it was bothering him. Sure. Any of those kind of things would make a lot more sense.
Who throws a shoe? Honestly. Okay, maybe that reference is probably lost on everybody.
He quit like Nico Collins after a TD.
There we go. He quit. He quit like Stephen Fox's fantasy team. All right, let's move on now. We got a late pick 5 here at Belmont. Where we're gonna actually make money, right? Hopefully, but there's some big fields in this late. I mean, like this race has got 12 horses in it. I think a couple of the other races are oversubscribed. You got a couple of MTOs in the turf races, and then you got AEs. I mean, these are some huge fields. I think this thing is going to pay. So I thought this was a fun sequence. Race 7 is going to start with a 7 furlong claiming race here. Yeah, your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the 12 Dots Dollar at 3-1. You get 7-2 on Brew Pub. And then, you get 6-1 on Beachwalker, 8-1 on Funny Joke, and you kind of get your price on everybody else. I'm going to be taking I'll be playing the role of Mark Capitan in this race. And I really think that the 2 top choices are going to be tough to beat in this race. I think the 8 Brew Pub is probably my top pick in this race. I think that this is a horse that's going to get a nice little setup in this spot with a bunch of the speed being drawn to the inside. I think the 8's going to be able to kind of save some ground on the rail and try and kind of make a close in this race. With and pass by, I think some of the tiring horses in this race. This is a horse that ran pretty well last time, going that mile at Saratoga, and kind of did it not the way that you kind of do it going a mile at Saratoga, right? He was sitting in the 5 post. He was coming from off the pace, so. Yeah, I like this horse kind of coming back here to Aqueduct and coming back to a race where he's going to have a bit of pace to be able to kind of close into. This is a horse that loves Aqueduct. He's got 3 wins. He's got 6 seconds and 4 thirds. Obviously, it's over 30 races, but that this is a horse that likes Aqueduct, and I think his run some of his better races here at Aqueduct. So I like the 8 Brew Pub. The morning line favorite, the 12 Dots Dollar. I mean, this is a horse that's kind of got your best time form figures. This is another horse that loves Aqueduct. 6 wins in 21 tries, 12 times in the money in those 21 tries. Yeah, I just think, I actually got on the right side of Manny Franco twice today. So I feel like I can trust him again. So why not use the 12 here? But I don't know. I thought this is another horse that is going to probably be tracking the pace. The 12 post kind of scares me a little bit, but I think, like I said, with enough of that speed being drawn to the inside, I do think that the 12 is going to be able to kind of have a pretty easy time kind of getting over from that 12 post and getting to a comfortable spot. So I'm going to go with just those two, the 12 and the 8 in this spot. Caleb, where did you land?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I could disagree with you much more after Big Truz, but adamantly hate your picks in this race. A dirt cheap claimer. The last thing I want is to suspect short prices. Brew Pub hasn't won a race since Moby Dick was a minnow. He's 4 for 60 with 24 minor awards. Sure, use him in the trifecta, but never a horse that I want at 7-2. Dots Dollar posted in the parking lot, a horse that I think probably needs the lead, truthfully. Doesn't do much passing in his 6-year career. Does like Aqueduct, but is coming off a voided claim and then dropping from claiming 50 all the way into the basement. There's a lot of stops between claiming 50 and claiming 12. I wonder if something went wrong there. For me, I don't think the run style with the post kind of works for him. And I'm a little bit suspect of the clash drop. So I don't like either of the short prices in here. I did kind of go a few other ways. That being said, I don't love anybody in this race. I'm just trying to look to find a little bit of value because I don't like the short prices. And I do think some favorites later on in the sequence are pretty formidable. One horse that I'll be using in here is the number 3 Funny Joke. Rudy Rodriguez was like 1 for 60 or something at Saratoga. He's a barn that typically runs pretty hot and cold, pretty streaky. And he started off the Aqueduct meet here pretty good. I mean, I'm showing 27% on Brisnet. That might be a little bit outdated compared to DRF, but either way, he's having a stronger meet at Aqueduct than he was at Saratoga. It seems like his horses are running again. And this is a horse who, both of those claiming 16 races at the Duct, in April and then June were pretty strong. I mean, came back and, just didn't get quite the right trip on June 29th and claiming 20, slightly better field. And he was just, super wide the whole time. I think that getting back to slightly easier company and being drawn inside here is going to help. He's a horse that, I don't think he really needs the lead. He has passed some horses to win before. So he's one that I like. I actually also like the other Rudy, the number 7 Beachwalker. Again, hot barn angle. You've got a horse that has absolutely zero early speed, but this is a big field. And I feel like there is a lot of speed in here. So I do think this race goes to someone who comes off the pace a little bit. Beachwalker probably has to pass them all to win. But that being said, this horse always shows up with an honest late kick. That last race from Saratoga actually came back pretty good with the 1st and 3rd place finishers coming back to win. Flavian Pratt not only staying put on this horse, but just riding in a dirt cheap claiming race. I mean, means something to me in here. He beat Dad's Good Runner a few races back, who is one of the more favored choices in here. So for me, Beachwalker might get the right pace set up for a barn that seems to be going the right way right now. Also might be one of those horses that I think is a bit of a 7 furlong specialist. We oftentimes used to call it a manatee distance because it's just such an odd distance where some horses just thrive at it and they can't win at anything else. This horse only has 6 wins from 67 starts, but 4 for 15 going 7 furlongs. I kind of think this is that perfect balance where you're, kind of getting the extended run for a closer to have enough time to get there compared to 6 or 6.5, but doesn't quite have the stamina considerations going a mile. So I like Beachwalker and Funny Joke. There's 1 or 2 more that I had some interest in, but I'll see where Mark landed first.
Yeah, so this race was just absolutely brutally tough, and I think you guys have named about 7 horses, and I'm going to name I think about 3 more, and there are going to be none of the ones that you guys have talked about. So it's just one of those races. I think in this sequence, you're going to try to get a lot of coverage here, and hopefully, hopefully catch yourself a price, and then leverage up some of those little sharper opinions later on. So I'll name 2 horses that I like in here that are both absolutely phenomenally big prices. And that's so. First off, let's start with the 2 horse Quiet Wisdom. I very much agree with Caleb's take that there's a fair bit of pace in this race, and I want somebody coming from off the pace. This is a horse that all 3 of his wins have come at Aqueduct. You're getting Gomez up, who rides at a really phenomenal, a pretty good ROI for what is a fairly small market barn, and a horse that is getting all the class relief in the world. If it wasn't this time of year, I'd be a lot more concerned with this, but I just really wonder if this is somebody who is liquidating horses that aren't good enough to win and wants to kind of shrink their barn and not have to overwinter them. And that's kind of what this feels like. Last time this horse was down anywhere near this level, won by 4 at Aqueduct going a mile and a claiming 16. Now I realize that's coming out of the Todd Pletcher barn where, this horse had been, keeping much tougher company prior, but speed figures fit. And I don't think this horse, in a race that I think is pretty flat, I want covers to somebody like the 2 Quiet Wisdom. Other horse I thought was a little interesting in here is the 9 Concord Spirit, who is a horse, another one of these ones you see somebody like an Eric Cancel and you scratch your head at, very low percentage jockeys, but he's very high percentage with his barn. Horse that's got all 3 of its wins at Aqueduct. Now, though, you haven't seen a win since March, going 6.5, and this is the cheapest this horse has probably ever been in at. But this was another one that should be able to take advantage of some of that pace that Caleb was talking about, and hopefully be flying late to pick up some pieces. So those were 2 prices that I liked in this spot. You can go a million different directions here. If I play a pick 5 through this, I will probably have 2/3 of the field.
Yeah, so those are 2 I agree with, Mark. The number 9 was the other horse I like, Concord Spirit. I didn't know what to do with Quiet Wisdom number 2, but I think you may have sold me. I was scared off the barn change. It seems like the form fell apart, but perhaps also just wasn't in the right spots. So I'll throw him in a race where I have no strong opinion and I don't like the short prices. You make a good case.
All right. I see CB for you to win. He likes the 10. Dad's good runner. Yeah. He says might be sitting on a win improvement the last 3 starts. I'm a little concerned maybe about the pace setup here a little bit, but I mean he does seem kind of like more of a tracker, not so much like a leader in here. So maybe he's one that might be able to get first jump a little bit on some of the speed here.
My biggest concern with him is he's 2 for 29 lifetime, 2 for 36 lifetime. Yes, both those 2 wins came at Aqueduct, but my form doesn't go far enough back to find when that last win was. This is a horse that, they keep going down in class, and the horse is just not winning. Now, I do like the jockey change, who's been very good for this barn, but
who's also 0 for 21 this meet.
That's exactly right. Like he's over 21 this meet. Horse hasn't run in forever for a 6% barn within a horse that maybe your second choice in here. Like there's way too many suspect angles there that scare you. So I understand why people might land there. It just probably not for me.
Yeah, one of those, in my opinion, one of those classic like figures will kind of tempt you, but for whatever reason, the results just don't show up for this horse. At 15 to 1, I'd say go for it. At 6 to 1, I can't use that horse.
Confucius says, if all horses drop in class, nobody drops.
Not all of them are dropping, though.
Anything else in here you guys want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, of this sequence, this is the toughest race. This is the one you want a lot of coverage in.
Agreed.
So. Okay. Well, you guys heard me talk about wax poetic about the chalk in the last race. What if I told you I also like the chalk in this race?
You mean the E7?
Oh God!
3-year-old turf stakes going a mile. I think there are 2 horses that can win this race. I think the one Opulent Restraint is going to be on the lead and loose in this spot, and the only the only question I kind of have is, last time they kind of took the horse off the pace a little bit, or they let the other horse kind of get the lead, and I kind of feel like this horse didn't get like super comfortable, and kind of finished third in that race. So granted, this is a much easier field here. But the two Mayday Ready, won the Lake Placid going wire to wire on an easy lead. So, and I see that Frankie takes this mount. And something that I feel like Frankie has been really good at doing, especially like at places like Kentucky Downs, and he'll do it at Keeneland, is if the pace is slow and he thinks he's got a little bit something under him, he'll just go. He'll just take the lead. And obviously, Jose kind of took the lead in this horse last time out. I think that Frankie's going to be very aggressive on Mayday Ready. And so I think it's going to be one of these two. They're going to be 1-2, I think, the whole way around. And it's going to be one of these two that wins. So those are the only two horses I'm using in here. I'm using the 1 and the 2. Mark, where did you land?
I am shocked, not shocked, but you have the wrong Chad Brown horse, Josh. You picked the rabbit, who's the setup for the 9, and that's Griselda. And I think Griselda here is a lone A for me and like a pick 5. Horse did not have a great trip first time in North America. Was absolutely flying late. Was both Flavian's, not Pratt's, best work, and that horse, you just kind of mowed him down and just got up in the shade of the wire. These Chad horses that, if they come over and they win right away, they're normally pretty decent. I expect this one to take a big step forward on the speed figures. And, now that Pratt's got a ride on the horse and kind of understands how the horse runs. And I would assume Pratt had to have choice. He's Chad's number 1 go-to, and he rode both the horses last out, and he ends up on Griselda. So I'm assuming that Griselda is the, sort of the Chad in this spot. Now I've seen Manny Steele races with on the Chad Brown Rabbit before. Occasionally Thace wins, but I just don't think that that happens here. And I think for me, Griselda's a lone A. How'd you see it, Caleb?
Yeah, I think Griselda is actually French for slow rat horse. So
cool.
For me, that horse is a takeout reducer it's the slowest horse in the race by not a slow margin. By not a slow, like genuinely needs to find 15 points to compete with any of the top 3. I know it's Chad, second time in America. There's reasons to think the horse might improve, but I just don't see it. There are no trips in slow races. I don't like the race she came out of. I don't like her at all. I don't really like the other horse either. I don't like either Chad Brown much. I thought Opulent Restraint ran fine. If I had to pick one, I would take the Manny Franco horse, because I don't see like a ton of speed in this race. Yeah, I don't see a ton of speed in here. This horse probably, getting the rail and with other Chad in here is probably going. I think Frankie actually not Frankie. It was Jose gave a crafty ride on Mayday Ready last time out, but I don't expect this horse to get the lead again. I respect Mayday Ready. I somewhat respect Opulent Restraint, but my top pick's actually the number 3, Ready for Candy, who is coming out of just an absolutely cracker of a race where she demolished a field. And I get it. It was a maiden field. But if you look back to her 2-year-old form, she was keeping legitimate stakes company most of her 2-year-old season. She ran in the Thalma at Woodbine. She ran in the Mazarine. And she's hitting the board in these races against some really nice horses as a 2-year-old. I remember being against her on August 17th in that maiden race, thinking it's a big layoff. There's no guarantee that she's going to, step forward. And she stepped forward in a big way. Just ran a monster race, under wraps. Certainly doesn't need the lead, but showed that she has that tactical speed in a race that I think is kind of hurting for some pace. So yeah, I think Ricardo gets her out in front and either takes the lead if Manny doesn't go, but more likely probably sits, somewhere, second or third off of Opulent Restraint, and then kicks clear, turning for home. And I think 6-1 is an excellent price on that horse.
So you're taking the horse that took 8 times to break her maiden, first winners in a stakes race.
Arguably the horse that broke her maiden her third start against maidens, but sure.
Okay. If it was a field of Made Breaker last outs, that would be a different conversation. But
I mean, alternately, you're taking a horse that was finished, second and third in some stakes races as a 2-year-old, and step forward in a big way at 3, versus a horse that's just not fast enough to win.
True.
At a better price.
Also true.
If we'll see. I mean, I don't think this horse gets bet hard. These are not household names, but I'd love to get 6-1.
I think of anybody in this field, I think the 1 and the 2 probably both take money off those lines, honestly. So I think Mayday Ready is the most sort of name recognition horse in the field.
I think you're right there.
So it wouldn't shock me if she goes off the favorite, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if your horse actually takes money more. I could see your horse floating up to like 5 or 6-1. Truthfully.
Yeah, agreed. I think you get that 6-1 on your 3. So,
do you think Mayday Ready takes money off the fact that it's part of the Andrew Champagne Hall of Fame?
I think that's the only reason.
Clearly.
Yeah, after there was Lord Miles at 59-1 in the Wood, or no, 57-1 in the Wood. There was Mayday Ready, I think, at 25-1 in her maiden. So 4-Night is Fun coming in with another bomb. He likes the 6 Trail of Gold, but he does think coming off a pretty big jock downgrade going to Jose Gomez from Irad Ortiz.
If they only run the race on Sunday.
Donk on a Sunday. Anything else in this race?
A lot of weird horses in this race, right? I mean, there's the 6 maybe isn't what I would say is a weird horse, but the 4, the 5, the 7. I mean, are these just like incognito MTOs, or these horses look like they have no business being in this race?
I just wonder if it was one of these spots where it's they ran out of conditions. They're looking for let's try a horse on turf and let's find the easiest stakes race we can to possibly give them a shot.
Could be.
It felt like one of those spots. It's that time of year to take a shot with these kind of horses, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, race 9. We're gonna be going 7 furlongs here on the main track. We got a dirt allowance race. Caleb, where did you land here?
This probably comes as a shock to both of y'all, but this is one of the favorites I'm not trying to beat. The number 3, Worthy Charge. I know last out Maiden Breaker. I had this horse as a stable horse off the debut effort where basically doesn't leave the gate, stumbles, makes a huge run against a bias that day. Keyed the horse and everything, in that August 10th maiden score, and didn't get much of a price, but did get a rewarding victory anyway. I think this horse is much, much the best. I think Chad found a pretty soft allowance to run this horse in. I love the fact that I didn't stretch him out to 1 1/8 because I don't think that's really what he wants to do. I think a mile's perfect, and 7 furlongs, I think that's fine too. Horse has shown the ability to, isn't just a plotter or one-run closer, because contested the lead last time out, but certainly doesn't need the lead. I just think this horse is head and shoulders above the rest of this field. Comes in with a pretty significant speed figure advantage on most of the runners in here. The ones that do have comparable figures appear to be pretty out of form. So for me, Worthy Charge will be a single.
Mark?
Yeah, I think Worthy Charge ends up being my lone A in this spot as well, for all the reasons Caleb mentioned. But I'll talk about my horse that's my lone B, who is the 8 horse Veritriano for Linda Rice. Horse had a lot of excuses in that Saratoga start, got absolutely pinballed at the break, kind of lost all chance. Linda is, the Linda barn has been firing so far this meet, and I think if you look at any of those, a bunch of those races in the prior barn, they fit very well here. And the horse is also never missed the exact at Aqueduct. So a little bit of a horse for course angle for that one as well. So I thought Verterano was an interesting other player, in this race. And also if you've been, and I'm sure Josh loves the horse as well, but if you've been watching the duct so far, these 1-turn races so far this meet have been extremely speed favoring. High, a ton of them have been getting wired. I don't actually have the stats. I'll have to, poke our good friend Matt DeSantis and get those. But it seems like everything's been getting wired on the front end. So I think Vertrano, if the horse gets out of the gate, is very, very interesting. And I also think, we've talked about this Johnny V factor when he's on a speed horse, that people just sort of don't challenge him. So I could see a situation where he gets very comfortable in this one on the lead.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that the 8 Vetriano is my top pick in this race. Taking the speed horse, taking the Linda horse, Johnny V aboard. And I went back and I kind of did, look at that last race, Mark, and you're right. Like, his horse got all kinds of trouble last time out. Because, it's very rare you see a horse like this that has very much been on the lead, and this horse absolutely misses by, 6 lengths, 7 lengths out at first and second call. So I have that as a lone A, and then the one horse I have as a lone B is the 9 Chileno. I just kind of thought that this was a horse that, if for some reason the 8, had more trouble again, kind of getting out, I thought the 9 has kind of got some sneaky speed. He's not very, very consistently kind of going to the front, but he's a horse. If you look at that race 3 back, he had some nice pace figures and was up front. Now, granted, right, that was going a much longer distance than we're going today. But even the race 2 back, he was sitting in second there, and I think that if there is a bit of kind of a slow pace, if the 8 kind of misses the break again, I think maybe there's a chance that the 9 can kind of maybe sneak up and kind of be kind of up close in that pace scenario. But I'm very much lone A to this 8. Doesn't look like there's any speed. This horse should be all kinds of loose. Speed has been deadly at Aqueduct, like Mark has mentioned, which is probably why I'm actually cashing tickets there. I like the 8 Vetriano in the spot.
We're gonna have to get you like a Manny Franco simp button.
Man,
we might have to.
I don't know, man. That's just like, I mean, he's winning. I mean, that George Weaver horse that he won on, and was it race 3 earlier today? I mean,
Yeah.
that basically made my day. So,
Sam,
anything else in this race?
No, not for me.
I
I
saw
like
four-
Bell's 8. That's my only B. But that's all.
Yeah, I saw 49ers Fun mentioning Worthy Charge last race. Even more impressive, giving the post. So he likes that one. And CB for you to win. He says, he was talking about the turf. He's like, if you don't use Johnny V at Aqueduct, you're going to get knocked out.
What is it, 1990?
It's all Johnny V. He says it's all Johnny V. And he says that's the benefit of chairing the Jockey Guild.
That I could see.
he's not wrong.
All right, race 10 here. 6 furlong, New York bred turf allowance. And your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the 7 Hangover Heaven at 5-2. You get 3-1 on Disco Star, 6-1 on One Last Knock, 8-1. You got to have hope, and then you get double digits. Oh, you 8-1 on Sinead, and you get double digits on everybody else. Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, I just need one horse in this race, and that is the 3-horse Disco Star. This is a horse who getting a ton of class relief in here, and I realize it's coming out of New York bred stakes, which are not, in a lot of New York bred restricted stakes, which are not the toughest races. But this horse was running really, really well at Saratoga in those last 2. I think the cut back here to a sprint is going to help this one move this horse up. You're getting Santana, who's riding as well as just about any jock in America right now. And if you, in this horses, has a number of speed figures that make this one a really major player in the spot. Cassie Barn hasn't had a lot of starts, but I don't see why they couldn't get going. And this is also a horse that has a win across the surface. So, with the, I think it was the Maiden Breakers here. Yeah, the Maiden Breaker going exactly this trip at Aqueduct last fall. So, I thought Disco Star for me, I always like these kind of sequences that I think are tough. where you kind of take that harder single. And I realized that I'm picking probably second choice in here, but I thought Disco Star for me was just much the horse to beat in because if I go past this horse, I need about 7 or 8 more. So I'll use a lot of Disco Star, and hopefully I pick right.
Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I respect Disco Star, but I significantly prefer the other short price, Hangover Heaven, number 7. I think this horse is tons the best in here. I remember watching his maiden breaker at Saratoga, and you just don't see. I mean, I would encourage anyone to go back and watch that race if you haven't, because you just don't see moves like that in turf sprints very often. A horse who comes out last by 8 and wins by 5. I mean, he was so loaded into the turn. It was, one of the more impressive turns of foot that I saw the entire meet. I mean, I wrote this horse's name down in my stable, after that race. I backed him next out in that New York Stallion series. He ran fine. Just got a little bit tired late. I do tend to think he might kind of still look more like a sprinter. We don't know what Mr. Monomoy is going to be as a sire yet, but Palace Malice certainly was more of a speed influence rather than stamina. So it kind of makes sense that, sprinting is more his game. I just thought he ran, his debut effort was visually so impressive. Clearly showed the ability to be more forward next out, although that was going a mile. But I don't think the trip really matters. 6 furlongs at Belmont or Aqueduct, I think, plays very fair on the turf. I expect him to be probably in the first third of the field. And I just think he's really tons the best in here. A third time out should improve, and I think get the job done.
So I hope Josh made that button. The Manny Franco sent button.
Dude, you say that we don't know what Mr. Monomoy is going to be as a sire. I mean, we still don't know what he's going to be as a racehorse, right? He ran like 5 times, and then won the Risen Star, and then they're like, "Yeah, we're done." Yeah, I'm actually with Mark on this. My lone A is Disco Star in this spot. I can't so I'm trying to see how to word this. I kind of feel like sometimes in the horse racing industry, right, as a whole, right now, we're not just the content, not just the betting, right, but everyone's like, oh, the bettors don't know shit. Right, we're a bunch of idiots, right? All we care about is making money and like betting, and we crap talk jockeys, we crap talk trainers, all this stuff, right? And we're super negative. So Disco Partner, as a sire, has gotten off to an absolutely awful start, right? Caleb, if you had a mare and you bred the horse to Disco Partner, what surface and distance do you think that you would run this horse on?
Dirt marathon.
Well, then guess what? I believe you have a future in horse racing, because I was kind of like trying to poke holes in this horse because short price. I'm like, I'm not a fan. And right, you look, and this is a horse that's 7%, right, on 106 starts so far with Progeny. Of those 106 starts, only 20 have been turf sprints. And 9 times this horse has hit the board in those 20 starts. Almost half of this horse's wins as a sire have been on turf sprints. Yet, I don't know. They just, I guess, decide not to, run Disco Partners on turf and turf sprints. I don't understand it. But I think I agree with Mark. This is a horse you kind of cross a line through the last couple of races, because although the horse ran well, I mean, this is a horse that wants to sprint. I mean, Sky Mesa, Sky Mesa mare on the bottom. Sky Mesa is also a sprinter. Like, what are we trying to go 2 turns with this horse for? So this horse's best starts have been going 6 furlongs at Aqueduct on the turf, and you got an 80, you got an 81 buyer on both those races. I think that that horse is far and away the horse to beat in this spot. So that's a lone A for me. The only horse I have as a B in here is actually the 4, Turiga. And I kind of was looking at this horse, and I kind of crossed the line through the last two races, right? And like, I mean, obviously the race 3 back, it's fine, right? I mean, it ran third, by a length, right? Last race, I mean, just completely tired and didn't do anything. But if you look at this horse's aqueduct form going 6, I mean, this horse looks pretty good. I mean, this horse is got a win, uh, 3 back at Aqueduct, going 6 furlongs, obviously, in October 24th last year. And then, like I said, the speed figures for the 2 races this year at Aqueduct going 6, they look really, really good. So I think that this might just be kind of a sneaky horse for course type angle here. This is a horse that's going to be forwardly placed on this turf, and you're going to get 10-1 on this horse. So I thought Turga was kind of an interesting B type to kind of use here. Maybe use underneath, also in in exacta type plays. But those are the only 2 horses I'm going to use in here. I'm going to use the 3 Disco Star, and I'm going to use the 4 Turga in here. Fortnite is fun saying another bad rider switch kills a price horse. He thought Quick Power Nap was one that could get a piece. We'll probably use him despite the jock downgrade. Goes from Jose Ortiz to Romero Mirage. That is quite a bit of a downgrade. CB for you to win. He said one last knockout race for Johnny V. Who's Johnny V on? He's on the 2, one last knock.
Yeah,
I did give a look to that horse, actually, because I kind of wondered if, for a turf sprint, it felt like there wasn't much speed. I mean, I know, Josh, you tried to read the tea leaves and find a way the 4 wins. I just don't think I see it. The 5 looks even worse. So the 2 kind of is the other speed horse there, but I think he has to improve a lot, and 6-1 maybe isn't the right price. But I wouldn't be shocked if this horse takes a big step forward.
And 49 is fun says he likes the hangover horse. He says he looks live. So,
yeah.
Anything else on this race? All right, we go to the last race, race 11. We're going to be going a mile and a 16th for 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares, New York bred, on the turf. And this was a pretty wide open race. Your morning line favorite is the 10 Princess Summer at 5-2. You get 4-1 on Saratoga Snow, 9-2 on Atta Girl Addie. And then you start getting your price, 8-1 on Catholic Edition, Professor Grace, double digits, I believe, on the rest. On a summer day, 6-1 actually as well. And you got some AEs, you got some MTOs, you got anything and everything you could possibly want in here. I went a couple of different ways. I think the horse on paper that looked the most interesting to me was the 1 Saratoga Snow. I think this is going to be kind of like your inside drawn speed in this spot. Gets Luis Rivera, who, is hopefully no thinky, only sendy in here. And yeah, I think that this is a horse that might be able to kind of, get to the lead and go. And I think if you kind of look back at this horse's 2-year-old races that were both at Aqueduct, they both look better than anything else this horse has run. So maybe getting back to Aqueduct here might be good for this horse. So we'll kind of see, because they brought this horse back in a 6 furlong, turf sprint here at Aqueduct. Horse didn't really. I think this is a horse that's kind of a router that wants to be forwardly placed. So I like Saratoga Snow getting to the route here at Aqueduct. I thought he was interesting. Obviously, the 10 Princess Summer also makes sense here. I mean, when I look at these turf maiden races that are for 3-year-olds and up, I always look to see, hey, are there any 4-year-olds in this race? And obviously the 10 Princess Summer, I think, kind of fits the bill here. So the horse that, is just going to be more filled out, I think, than a lot of these other horses going this route distance. And it's Mike Maker, who can basically run anything going long on the turf. And you get Flavian Pratt aboard here. So I thought the 10 Princess Summer obviously made a ton of sense. And then I had the two of the AEs, the 13 and the 15. I mean, if either of them draw in, I mean, they both make a bunch of sense. I think the 13 a little bit more than the 15. The 15 is kind of looks to be that horse that has probably gotten enough tries for me, but I think the horse is shown something here, gets Johnny V aboard, but it's just a horse that just probably should have won last time out and couldn't get it done. Um, but the 13, I think, is a little bit more lightly raced. And Ricky almost got this horse home here at Aqueduct to start the summer. So once again, it's another horse. I think maybe just getting back to Aqueduct might be able to show something a little bit more. And really, I have 1B, and it's the unraced horse, the 8, Vietti. And this is an unraced 4-year-old here. So I like this horse because once again, this is a horse that is 4 years old. Going 2 turns for the first time isn't going to be as, I think, big of an issue for this horse. And I think people are going to kind of look at the connections, and I think this horse is going to get kind of lost in the board when you see a lot of horses in this race who've had plenty of tries to try and break their maiden already. So I thought the 8 Vietti was kind of interesting. I have this horse as like a C type, right? Not a horse I'm gonna put a ton of money through. If I'm playing like a pick and pray tournament, like this is probably a horse that I'll maybe just put on for the last race to try and get kind of a bomb home in there. But I thought the 8 was at least a little bit interesting in here. But Mark, where did you land here?
Yeah, so I ended up on some, I guess you'd probably call them a little bit of outsiders in the spot. When I see a race like this, where I see a lot of horses who've had a lot of chances to get their photo taken and they consistently choose not to, there's a lot of horses in here that have a multitude of second place wins, who they've been at this sort of level for a long, or sorry, second place finishes, been at this sort of level for a long period of time. I kind of want those outsiders. So first one I'll talk about is the 11 horse on a summer day, who is a horse that if you look at the 2 back and the 4 back races at Aqueduct, both on time form and BSF are the fastest 2 figures in the field. And this is a horse that I don't know if it's in every other pattern or if the horse just likes the turf at the duct. Take it for whatever it is. But, again, this was a horse that does have quite a few starts, but this is the first time actually in for a tag because it's the horse did have a maiden optional claim where the horse was not in a tag before, but this is the first time in for a tag. Wondering if they're finally, hopefully, getting a little more realistic with this one. Don't love the connections, don't love the jockey, all those kind of things. But this is a horse that makes a lot of sense, at least on paper. The other horse that I thought was really interesting is the horse immediately to that one's outside, the 12 horse Audemars. Caleb's smiling, so he must like this one as well. So you're getting another one of the droppers in this field. You're getting Frankie Dettori. I don't know if the horse just needed to start and will take a step forward. Carol Brianna is, I think, much better second time than first time out. Gets Lasix in this start, and he's 50% when he throws Frankie up on a 20-1. So, I wonder if the really brutal trip didn't help that one. I think here probably stretching out to 2 turns might be a little better given the pedigree. So I'm not really sure this is a turf horse in all honesty, but in a race where I know that there's a lot of frauds in here, this is one that I don't quite know yet, and I'm getting a price where I think there's some upside.
Yeah, somehow, some way, I agree completely with Mark. The 11 is my top pick. I've been very anti-Josh this stream, so I guess that's only appropriate to close it out. I hate the 10, and no excuse in his last 3. Horse burns money and has very little turf pedigree, in my opinion. The 11's my top pick on the drop. Horse is coming in with some better figures against better competition. And Mark brings up a great point that the only 2 real bad races were at Saratoga, where maybe the turf course just didn't suit, or than the one dirt race. So yeah, on a summer day is my top pick. I do like the 12 as a bit of a flyer, definitely more of a B type, maybe BC, but in a race where I don't like, some of the favorites, I think that horse at 20-1 at least still has some upside. And then, the one horse that Josh mentioned I do like is number 1, Saratoga Snow. Good chance this horse is going to be your controlling speed from the inside. Don't love the jock, but nevertheless, this horse is getting class relief. The one time she did try maiden 50, ran a good race, just got beat by, 3/4 of a length. Connections maybe got a little ambitious and tried to move her back up, and she kind of continued to prove that's not where she belongs. But I think she's one that the only one of the shorter prices who I consider is the 1, Saratoga Snow.
Yeah, CB for you to win. He likes the 13, just one more. Thinks was flattered by Bryant and Cooper. They both won this week, and they ran together on June 29th. And then 49 is Fun likes the 15. Said upgrade that last race because it was against the boys. Post 4 on Spa Main Turf is not great, or outside post 4 on Spa Main Turf was not great, and hopefully she gets into this race.
Yeah, A's are tough. I thought you could make a case for all the A's in this race, but but again, then you have to deal with post draw on horses that've shown that they maybe don't love to pass others, and you're gonna have to have some jocks get a little creative with trips. I thought honestly you could make a case for, well, at least the 13 and the 15 you can make a case for.
15's Johnny V. That's why he's all over it.
I'm disappointed nobody made a case for the Manny horse.
Who's he on? We can find a way.
The 7, the Rudy horse.
I don't know if I can find a way.
No.
Yeah, I tried, couldn't.
Well, I mean, it's getting a huge jock upgrade.
That
going
is true.
from pudding cups to Manny Franco, who's the hottest jock at Aqueduct right now.
What snack do you think Manny Franco likes?
I don't know, man. He's like some. He probably likes like salt and vinegar chips or something. Like what's the most like basic? What's like the most like basic snack that you can think of? Baked Lays.
Baked Lays.
Baked Lays. Not even
Air
the regular
fried
stuff.
Lays.
Yeah, just a regular like baked Lays or something. I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe you know what we should ask. We should ask. Matt DeSantis, so you can find out what snack Manny Franco likes. I'm sure he can do it.
I feel like he's like Sour Patch Kids or something,
Also fits.
Dude, I don't know, man. We're gonna stop there before I say something. I get myself in trouble. Manny, say real birds. Anything else on this card?
I don't think it's like a sequence that's going to make you just super eager with anticipation leading into it, but going through it, I think it's a really good betting sequence. I think there's 2 races where there's some pretty bad favorites that are spread races, and I think there's a couple races you can probably get pretty skinny around a favorite, or in my case maybe that 3 horse in the stakes race who's 6-1. So I think it's a really cool betting race. I like it more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I think you run into that a lot this time of year at the Duct, where it's not the classiest racing, but they're really good betting races. A lot of these sequences they're just tough, and they're fun to play because they're tough.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here on the Wrong Lead. Check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. Check out our friends at DRF. They got all kinds of new stuff out. They got their chat bot at chat.drf.com. They got their new mobile newbie PPs at newbie.drf.com. And they got all kinds of stuff coming up there. So obviously check them out. All kinds of streams and other handicapping content. Check out AMWager, amwager.com / I believe it's / on the wrong lead. You can get a nice sign up bonus, and it helps us out without costing you any money. Yep. For Mark and Caleb, I'm Josh. Have a good weekend, guys. Let's make some money.